moron! Hey, moron! Duh! Look at me! I'm the water boy, duh!
Love my coffee in the morning. Good morning, people. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as the Funky Chicken. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So we are knee deep in the off season here, and what seemed to be thought of as really bad moves, a really bad move in getting Brian Schottenheimer, whose biggest draw is his name, even though he has been an offensive coordinator on multiple teams in college and in pros, that he wasn't considered the hot candidate like everybody was looking for. So, of course, everybody said, typical Jones saying, not going to do their homework and, you know, same shit that we always get and so on. But it's been a week. And in this week has seen cataclysmic changes. We've seen Stephen Jones going from air quotes and dismissing the fans' unrest of not being in the Super Bowl for 30 years to apparently doing a walk of shame and putting together a really good staff right now. Right now, we've gotten our guy, Caton Adams, who was an offensive line coach, as our offensive coordinator that'll work hand in hand with Brian Schottenheimer. He's definitely very run-oriented, and we've heard the Cowboys go through and talk about wanting to have a balanced offense. Of course, I hear people saying, of course, you know, you pay Dak Prescott, and then you'd want to run the football. Hate to tell you guys, but the way this offense ran under Mike McCarthy, Mike McCarthy is very, very pass-heavy. Very few times do you have a pass-only offense without a semblance of a running game end up being in the Super Bowl. You have to be balanced, and the Cowboys have not been really balanced in a long time. And that's what they're trying to bring. It's not that we're going to be Marty Schottenheimer's Barry Word and Christian Okoye, where we literally run the football, 90% of the time. It's going to be like a 50-50, which for the Cowboys is close to being normal. So pump your brakes a little bit, because you can look at this and say, the Eagles are in the Super Bowl this year, not trying to put Jalen Hurts' arm as the reason why they're there. You can look at the difference that Saquon Barkley has made for that offense, where he's more effective when he passes the football because teams aren't able to sell out. And that's what we're trying to do. If you can't recognize that, then I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you, because, you could, by what I'm getting from some fans, well, we could just bring back Trey Lance and just have him hand off the football. Whew. Yeah. So here's the thing. As we go through and we're working on getting our coaching staff put together, we have to start now thinking about our free agents. And of course, we always hear about the Cowboys. You got, 21 free agents. And this isn't the same as, say, last year. Last year, we had 9 starters that were free agents that we lost. 9. Which was a bigger chunk than what we had this year. Now, I want to go through, and I want to talk about some of the guys. I want to actually go through the list right now. And you tell me how many of these guys that we say we cannot live without. Dalvin Cook, running back. Malik Davis, running back. Kevin Harmon, wide receiver. Jalen Cropper, wide receiver. None of these guys are going to be above a veteran minimum. None of them. If you decide you want to keep those. Exclusive rights free agents. Now, this is, again, they're not really free agents. This is, let me see how I can explain it. They don't have the freedom to work a deal with somebody else. Basically, they don't have any options. If the Cowboys want to keep them around, they're here. They can't leave. If the Cowboys decide not to give them a contract, then they can actually go. So we're talking about Brock Hoffman, who played really, really well in relief of Zach Martin, and we don't know if Zach Martin's coming back. Tavarius Wheat, defensive line, and Wanye Thomas, safety, who's a special teamer. Then we have restricted free agents, which is Kayvon Turpin, where you actually put a tender on him, and Marquez Bell. So right now, all the guys that I've already talked about, if you want them, they're yours. It won't be a problem to keep any of those, money-wise and things like that. You're good if you want any of those guys. Turpin, you're going to have to give him a tender, maybe a second-round tender, which will be somewhere around the neighborhood, I think, of about $4 million. Let me see what the tenders are. First-round tender is 7.2. Second-round tender is 5.2. And your original tender would be 3.1. So I may have to go ahead and say, give him a second-round tender and see if somebody else tries to get him. So that would be the first one that I say you might lose would be Turpin. Then, now here is where you have all the power. Unrestricted free agents. So C.J. Godwin, our punter, Brian Aguilar, and Trent Sigg, our long snapper. Brian Aguilar, you definitely want to bring back. C.J. Godwin has had a couple injuries and things, but he's been a special team standout. You may want to bring him back as well. As far as quarterbacks go, Trey Lance, Cooper Rush. Trey Lance was about $5 million this past year per Sports Track. They're projecting his cap number, teams to sign him for about $2 million. Cowboys wasted a draft pick and money for basically a third-string quarterback. You're not going to spend $5 million for backup quarterback. Cooper Rush may get some interest out there to be a backup. I think the Cowboys may want to try and re-sign him. Now we start getting to the bigger ones. Rico Dowdle. Rico, of course, somebody's going to look to pay Rico. I think that's going to be a $7-8 million type hit for the Cowboys. And they're going to have to decide before March 10th, before free agency starts, if they want to bring him back. Brandon Cooks, I think the Cowboys move on from Brandon Cooks with the amount of injuries, his age, and things like that. He has no guaranteed money, of course, and we do have voidable years to take care of the dead hit that we have. Offensive line, Igoda, who has been a journeyman offensive lineman, who has filled in okay. He's a better guard than tackle, but not irreplaceable. The big question, now this is one of the big ones, is Zach Martin. Is Zach Martin retiring or not? We have a lot of dead money with Zach Martin because of his contract and things, and they do have voidable years on there that if he is going to be healthy and wanting to come back, you could bring him back and basically take the dead money hit, spread it out, give him like a 2-year deal, and keep him. That's a big one. So when you look at it from the standpoint of the offense, you're not losing major pieces on the offense. The offense, you're like, okay, we can be pretty much consistent. And I think this is part of the reason why the Cowboys kept Brian Schottenheimer, was because the offense has so many pieces that 2 years ago was one of the best in the NFL. Now, the defense, on the other hand, you're kind of starting all over. So here's the deal with the defense. You got a lot. This is where all our free agents are. DeMarcus Lawrence, who played a couple of games this year, who has been a great player for us, but has gotten to that point where he has a lot of injuries. He probably wants to continue playing. He doesn't have any more guaranteed money. His contract is up. Do you want to roll the dice for another year? That's a big one. More than likely, he ends up in Washington. Carl Lawson, you found lightning in a bottle with Carl Lawson, signing him after training camp. I think the Cowboys will want to bring him back. He'll be about a $4 or $5 million dollar hit, having 4.5 sacks this year. The biggest one is Osa Ndigizua. Osa is probably going to get somewhere between $15 and $20 million on the market out there. But that's a guy, a defensive tackle, interior defensive tackle, will be key on Matt Eberflus's defense, and you'll want to hold on to him. And I'm going to say Chauncey Goldston, who is a defensive tackle / defensive end. He can play both. Another guy that you want to keep as well. Linval Joseph, journeyman, played decent at times. You can bring him back for a ham sandwich. Carlos Watkins, same thing. Linebackers, Devarius Harris, Eric Kendricks, and Nick Vogel. I could see them wanting to bring back Nick Vogel and Eric Kendricks. Both of those guys aren't really high-priced ones. So when you look at it from the standpoint of the Cowboys right now, your big ones are Rico Dowdle, Osa Ndigizua, Turpin, Brian Aguilar. Those are the guys that you look at and say, you really don't want to lose. You really don't want to lose those 4 guys. The other ones, you could say, I don't want to lose them, but if I do, they're replaceable. And actually what you want to do is, what I would hope that the Cowboys do is, that they decide that we're going to try and be better, that when we lose a position, we're going to try and replace it with somebody better. That's the hope. Now, I've got to get on the road today, so we're going to keep it a little short this morning. But I wanted to go back through and get to know Brian Schottenheimer a little bit better. Nick Eatman did an incredible interview with him a few days ago, and I want to play it here so that way we know what we're getting.
Eatman along with Brian Schottenheimer, the newest head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And Coach, before I even ask it, how does that sound, the ring to that?
Honestly, Nick, it sounded different when you said it, and maybe it's just starting to settle in a little bit, but it sounds amazing. I'm honored, I'm humbled to be sitting in this chair at the head of the table for one of the greatest sports teams in the world.
What does your text messages look like right now? What does your cell phone look like? And have you gotten back to a percentage of them?
Well, I'm going to brag here for a second.
Okay.
There's 988 text messages. And
can we get 12 more? Just to
Yeah, we need to get up to 1,000. But it's all about people that love me, care about me, a ton of friends, a ton of lifelong coaches. Of course, there's people looking for a job, which I humbly say I will text them back because I've been there. I've been the guy out looking for work, but I'm incredibly humbled, and it shows you that when you get those, you've impacted a lot of people along your journey, and that's really what matters.
You've grown up, obviously, and we'll talk about that with your dad as a head coach and also in the NFL. But what did the Dallas Cowboys mean from afar? What did America's team and all that? When you looked at the brand, when you weren't in it, what did it mean to you back then?
Winning, championships, great players, legendary coach. You know, you're talking to somebody that grew up in the profession, so I know Tex Schramm, I know Gil Brandt, I know what they did, I know what they meant to this, and then, fast forward with Jerry and the Joneses taking over, and bringing Jimmy and Johnson, those guys in. It's always the name rings success. The name rings winning and pursuing a world's championship, and that's something that we're not going to shy away from. That's something we're going to talk about. It's something we're going to work towards, because that's the ultimate goal. And again, if we're not shooting for that, then why are we putting in the time and the effort? Why are we straining to do something that doesn't make us the best in the world?
You said that in the press conference. If we're not here to win championships, what are we doing? You also said that Dak Prescott's a guy we got the right guy. He's going to lead us to championships. He led a few guys, it seemed like, to the press conference. What was that like, seeing him in the back there?
So I knew my family was going to be there. I literally, I almost lost it when I saw him. I figured there'd be one or two.
This is
you can
where
hear
you
my
feel
voice
good
now.
about the team coming
to
together.
see the number of guys that were there. I think it shows that we're off to a fast start. We're connected. We know each other's hearts. We know each other's dreams. We know what we need to get done, and we also understand how much work we have to put into it. But truly humbled. I love them and appreciate it, and we'll remember that part maybe as much as anything in today's conversations.
Talk about the balance of a coach, of being, sounds like you're a definition of a player's coach. Players love you, respect you. How do you balance making them uncomfortable also at the same time?
Well, if you talk to them, they'll make it very clear to you that I can make them uncomfortable. It's not about that. It's about developing relationships. I never use that word, Nick, but these are real relationships. These are based on trust. They're based on respect, the ability to have hard conversations. What I would say one of my greatest gifts as a leader is I'm consistent. So whether we win a game, whether we lose a game, whether I'm dealing with a star player or a role player, I'm never going to change. I'm going to be who I am. And I think that's what the players respect and love about me. But I know how to make them uncomfortable.
I'm going to ask you one more question here. You talked about winning championships. What's the biggest challenge for you? A bigger challenge? Getting this franchise to win a Super Bowl, or you meeting the expectations of your father?
I think it's honestly neither, if I'm being honest with you. I think the greatest, because I'm a process guy, okay? So the biggest thing for us and for me as the head coach of this football team is to put together the best coaching staff that we can, because that's the first challenge. We have to identify and bring in the right teachers, the right motivators, the guys that can develop fundamentals and techniques, guys that will have the connection with their players. Because if you don't have the connection with or the relationship with your players, it's more difficult to criticize. It's more difficult to point out when they're not doing things they're supposed to do. So I'm not competing with my father. I'm competing with myself and for the standards and the expectations that I've always had, which is to win a Super Bowl. And I don't have one. I've been to 2 AFC Championship games, but that is the main objective, and I know I can honor my father by winning the Super Bowl.
That's awesome. Coach, I know you've got a lot of things to do, so thank you for joining us. You got text messages to respond to as well, but we're looking forward to working with you here. And
I have to say, I like Brian Schottenheimer. I really do. I think that actually he might be the guy that we need. Now, maybe I'm just crazy. I'm falling into the usual Dallas Cowboys trap and everything else. But I really do like him, and he's winning me over, and this coaching staff is definitely winning me over. And there you have it, good people. I will be on the road, and you know when I'm on the road, I do a lot of thinking and getting content and everything out because it's just me and my thoughts. And I will be having lots of thoughts as we go up the road here and bring you all the news that is the Dallas Cowboys. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you guys. We're closing in on 137,000 subscribers. I am so thankful and humbled by all of your support, and I will see you guys soon. Peace.